Hello everybody, my name is Big Large and welcome back to the Kill Cam. Today we're covering another banger and one of my favorite movies of all time, Watchmen.
Adapted from Alan Moore's 1986 graphic novel of the same name by director Zack Snyder, this movie's deconstruction of superheroes and stylized violence influenced many of the movies and shows we love today. Watchmen is a dark, thought-provoking film where retired heroes are drawn back into action after one of their own is mysteriously killed. Can they solve the mystery before it's too late? Let's find out and get to the kills. The movie opens up with a shot zooming out of a yellow smiley face button, the yellow smiley face button, to show an old man smoking and making coffee while watching the news. It shows President Richard Nixon, or at least someone wearing his skin, discussing the Cold War, talking about how Russia is only doing this because they're afraid of Dr. Manhattan. Out of nowhere, someone kicks down the door. The old man throws his glass at the intruder, but he evades it. Then he closes the distance and throws him. This guy's kicking his ass, god damn! The old timer throws a punch and his fist goes through the wall, holy shit. Mid beatdown, he laughs and says it's all a joke, and his blood falls and hits the button. After a lengthy one-sided fight, the man throws the old guy out of the window, giving us our first kill of the movie. We get a montage showing us the rise and the fall of superheroes in this universe. Let me break it down for you. There's the Minutemen featuring the Silhouette, Mothman, Dollar Bill, Hollis Mason, the Night Owl, Captain Metropolis, Sally Jupiter, Silk Spectre, the Comedian, the guy from the intro, and Hooded Justice. Silhouette was a proud and out lesbian, but her and her partner were unfortunately killed because of it. Mothman was admitted to a mental asylum. Maybe it was Arkham, who knows? While stopping a robbery, Dollar Bill's cape was caught in a revolving door and he was shot in the head. After a great career, Silk Spectre enjoys one last supper with her team and retires. While we do learn the fates of the others, later on in the movie we see the lives of some current characters like Silk Spectre's daughter, Lori Jupiter, watching her and her man fight. The TV is showing the self-immolation of Taek Kwong Duk, so I guess he's going on the count. We see a meeting between JFK and Dr. Manhattan, and then we see him getting capped! I gotta put John fucking Kennedy on the count? And it was a comedian who killed him? At the same time, Khrushchev and Castro meet to discuss storing missiles in Cuba. At a protest, they try to recreate the famous flower in the gun picture, but instead of remaining peaceful, the soldiers just open fire on the crowd. It's probably packed as hell, but since I only see 10 people, I'm just counting them. We see Ozymandias walking into a gay club. Must investigate further. A team is formed to replace the Minutemen called the the Watchmen. Members being the Comedian, Lori, Silk Spectre 2, John Osterman, Dr. Manhattan, Adrian Veidt, Ozymandias, Danny Drydenberg, Owlman 2, I'll call them both Silk Spectre and Owlman, and Rorschach. Hey y'all, Editor Big Large here. This thing's already pissing me off. That guy is the Night Owl, not Owlman. Then we see Nixon get elected for a third time. They must really fuck with that nigga. Presidents can't run for a third term, everyone knows that. People protest vigilantes from outside and some clown throws a Molotov at the window and kills them all. In the present day, the cops are investigating the crime scene and they deduce that the comedian worked for the president and that whoever killed him must have superpowers. Rorschach comes in later that night to investigate himself. He looks around and finds his old armory. He sees a bunch of pics around his room, including one of Lori. He sees one of his old nemesis, Moloch, and assumes he's the prime suspect. Some cops notice that he broke in, but he knocks one out and leaves before they can stop him. Night Owl 1 talks to Night Owl 2 about the Minutemen and why he started the group. He says that it sucks that Nixon pushed to criminalize superheroes even after he voted for him 5 times. That nigga was in office for 20 years and no one did anything about it. As Danny leaves, they see on the TV that Rorschach is on the most wanted list for violating the Keene Act, the law that Hollis was just complaining about. You'll see why he's been outlawed soon. Night Owl comes home to see his door kicked in. He hears scraping from the kitchen, but it's just Rorschach eating beans. He tells him that the comedian's been killed, but they go down to his owl cave to discuss further. When they're down there, Inkface tells him that he was killed by a degular burglar. Daniel dismisses this, but he tells his old co-worker he says he wants to get the gang back together, but he shuts him down again. Before Rorschach leaves, he criticizes Daniel for giving up, but he hits him back for not letting go. Rorschach feels bad after that encounter, but stays determined. There's a comic in the movie called Tales of the Black Freighter. You see, in their world, masked heroes are everywhere, so they're normal. If someone made a comic about them, it's considered a slice of life and they pass it straight. So for more interesting stories, they gotta go someplace else, like pirates. In the Black Freighter, the main character tries to stop a terrible evil from transpiring, but his efforts to stop it end up creating a worse evil. It's supposed to link to one of the characters, but it completely derails the stories and takes up a bunch of time. I purchased the ultimate version of this movie, so it's got the Black Freighter and some bonus scenes. I'll just skip the pirate stuff because it's not important. Danny visits Ozymandias during an interview. Turns out after the Keene Act, he got rich by selling action figures and other merchandise of his friends, and he's been using that money for other things. He mentions that he's been working with Dr. Manhattan to make a new, clean source of energy. He ends the interview by claiming that he'll end the Cold War. Dan tells him that the comedian was killed and that he might be next, but Adrian brushes it off by saying that Eddie had it coming, and he has bigger things to worry about, like World War III. You know, in the comics, it was actually Rorschach that came to talk to him instead of the Night Owl. Rorschach sneaks into a military base to talk to Dr. Manhattan and Silk Spectre, and we get to see the elusive blue moon everyone is talking about. Dr. Manhattan knows that the comedian is dead and that What's-His-Nuts is going to ask to look in the future for the killer, but he says that his clairvoyance is being blocked by a large amount of tachyon somewhere down the line. Rorschach suggests that maybe someone did that so they can operate with impunity, and he teleports him out of the base. Aww, his ink makes a little frowny face. Laurie asks the doctor how he can change the future if time is all simultaneous, and he shows her how he sees it. He touches her forehead, giving her visions of the past and the future. She sees her parents arguing, and we hear her dad mention that Eddie S.A'd Sally. Oh, now we're out of there. He kinda foreshadows his own cucking. Like, he says that Laurie's gonna ask him to dinner, but since she can't, she's gonna have dinner with Night Owl instead. You can do whatever you want, man. Just go out to eat with your girl. Fuck you mean you can't? You know, if he wanted to, he would. Laurie and Danny meet over dinner and reminisce about their hero days. While that happens, a man with an "end is nigh" sign passes the restaurant. She complains about her relationship with the most powerful man alive. Right before they end it for the night, Danny drops this fire line.
Be that many last around these days.
What do you expect? The comedian's dead.
The next day, Edward Blake is laid to rest and all of the Watchmen go to their funeral. Dr. Manhattan teleports Laurie to her mom's house and she shows her R34 that a fan made of her. They talk about the comedian and Sally says poor him. Laurie blows up at her and questions why she'd see him in an empathetic light after what he did to her. We get a flashback of what happened after the pic in the intro. Sally changes in another room while everyone leaves, but Eddie goes to their room. Look, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Eddie assaults her and tries to essay her, but Hood Justice stops him before anything could happen. We flash forward to the present and Sally glazes her assaulter. During the funeral, Dr. Manhattan remembers the Vietnam War. We see him explode 5 people with a wave of his hand. Then the comedian burns a man alive with a flamethrower. With a smile. They celebrate winning the war when all of a sudden a pregnant young Vietnamese woman comes in and tells Eddie about her baby. He yells at her to leave and she cuts his face with a broken bottle. In retaliation, he shoots her dead. The Blue Waffle shames Eddie for shooting a pregnant woman and Eddie shames him for watching him do it. I hate to agree with this scumbag, but he's right. With great power comes great responsibility, and this guy is nigh omnipotent. If you're as powerful as God and anything bad happens, it's because you let it. Now it's Ozzy's turn to have a negative flashback about the comedian. During the first meeting of the Watchmen, Eddie criticizes his plan of global salvation. He gives a cynical speech to the group about how none of this matters because the world is going to war with each other and that the world's going to end when they threw their nukes at each other. He lights the map on fire and dips. The Night Owl remembers when they tried to peacefully quell an anti-vigilante protest. The crowd hurls slurs and metal objects at them and Negan snaps. He starts beating them up and shooting at them with rubber bullets. Good lord. As the crowd disperses, we get this great exchange between two characters.
What happened to the American dream? What happened to the American dream? It came true. You're looking at it.
You know, this reminds me of that thing I always say. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. No one on the Watchmen likes the comedian and they outnumber him 4-1, but they don't do anything to stop him. They're like the Doctor, but not as bad because they're not gods. In the present, we see a pointy-eared gentleman put a wreath on his grave. He goes home and finds a surprise in his fridge. Apparently it's Moloch, the comedian's old villain. Rorschach tries to get info out of him by force, but he says that he's retired. A few broken bones later and confesses that randomly the comedian broke into his house and cried on his bed, showing genuine remorse about what he's been doing, saying that it's all a joke, mother forgive me, the same thing he said before he died. The vigilante lets him go, and Moloch says that he got cancer. Rorschach thinks he's seen some extra crazy shit if he's crying to the ops. In the next scene, Dr. Manhattan is giving it to Laura extra freaky style, but she's not down with that. To make things worse, that's not even the real John. He's working! Laurie throws something at his head, but it phases through him and breaks the monitor he's looking at. He does some crazy diamond shit and fixes it. If he could do that, then why the fuck he ain't do that with the pregnant lady? He lies and says that his focus was on her while he does something else. He tells her that she's his last remaining link to Earth and begs her not to leave, but it doesn't work. Feeling unappreciated, she leaves him for the last time. When she's gone, he looks at a pic of his first wife. She immediately runs to Danny and complains about how he's losing touch with his humanity. He gets ready for an interview while they go out. They pass the same guy as before. They walk into an alley and get cornered by a gang. Danny breaks one guy's arms and another's leg. Laurie breaks a guy's neck, then kicks him into a wall. Okay, these guys clearly have superpowers. All of the heroes exhibit some form of super strength throughout the movie. Apparently, this was a big point of contention for the fans because in the comics, Dr. Manhattan is the only one with powers. One of the main messages of the book was to look at the heroes beyond the mask to see their weaknesses, like Rorschach's schizophrenia, Danny's paranoia and lack of confidence, and Laurie's unhappiness with her life. Those weaknesses help them keep their humanity, and since John doesn't have any apparent ones, he's slowly losing his. One of them tried to stab her, so she takes his knife and plunges it into his neck. One of them aims a gun at Laurie. Nigga watched his whole gang get whooped and now he wants to pull it. She uses homeboy as a human shield and Danny knocks him out. After the altercation, they decide to part ways for the night. All while this is happening, John on the telly getting interviewed by the press. The same reporter that interviewed Ozzy informs him that his former friends and foes have gotten cancer. Then he lets them know that his first wife caught it too. She comes onto the show to tell him in person and it devastates them. Reporters flood and surround him, which upsets him to the point he teleports them all out of the room. Yo, I shit you not, I was on the bus writing the script and I see a guy reading the graphic novel. How cool is that? Daniel meets with the first night owl and he informs him about the doctor's crash out. He left to go for Mars and reminisces on his life before he became God. We see him having fun at the fair with his wife Jenny and his friend Wally, who died of cancer a few years later. One night he leaves his watch in the Intrinsic Field Center, so he goes back to retrieve it, but the door locks behind him. For some reason the program starts and he begs for help. What if it's like AOT and he went back in time to close the door himself? His life flashes before his eyes. He remembers the first time he met his wife and making watches with his dad. He claims at that moment he felt fear for the last time, and the machine fucking rips him apart. They have a funeral for him even though he's completely obliterated and there is nothing to bury. A little while later, a blue circulatory system shows up for a second. A skinless blue human shows up screaming, then leave. Then finally in the cafeteria, the Dr. Manhattan we know today just appeared like the T-800. That shit is terrifying, bro. I mean, the screaming person with no skin is kind of scary, I guess. Like, imagine enjoying your meal and then out of nowhere you see Manhattan Big Blue Johnson. Ugh. His existence is made public and they call him Dr. Manhattan because of the Manhattan Project. For his logo, he chose the hydrogen symbol for a multitude of reasons. It's one of the most important elements and it makes up 90% of the universe. The hydrogen bomb was a huge threat in the Cold War, and the symbol itself represents his distant relationship with humanity, the Earth being the big dot while he watches from the outside. The government trained him to be a weapon and Nixon asked him to step in on the Vietnam War. The Viet Cong saw what he did to their homeboys and wanted none of the smoke, so they all surrendered. Earlier in the movie, if you look closely on the flag over the comedian's casket, you can see there's 51 stars. After America won the Vietnam War, they fucked around and made them a state. While he's chilling with Jenny, 3 guys pull out guns and they try to kill him. He just explodes them. While everyone runs away, he watches in curiosity. On Christmas Eve, him and his girl have this interesting exchange. He lies to her and says that he'll always love her. We see the first meeting of the Watchmen from his perspective and he notices Laurie instantly. That same night they ended up making out. She knows that he's only cheating because she's getting older. He justifies this by saying that he notices her aging more and more every day and that he's tired of her and tired of everyone on Earth. Back in the present on Mars, he builds an enormous crystal castle out of sand on Mars. It looks like it's made of the pieces of a watch but all messed up. Just like how he sees time all messed up and out of order. The FBI interrogates Laurie on why she wasn't doing her job by keeping the doctor happy, and she gets mad and says that's not her job. One of them lights a cigarette and it reminds her of an interaction she had with the comedian. She tells him she thought it was so Sigma that he set the map on fire, and he tells her that she looks just like her mother. Sally assumes that he's hitting on her and tells Laurie to get in the car. Her memory is interrupted by some lab coats informing them that Manhattan is on Mars. Laurie asks him to use a ladies' room and escapes from the interrogation. After the blue boy left, Russia and a bunch of other Balkan countries are threatening to move into Afghanistan. Nixon says that if he doesn't come back in 2 days, he's gonna bomb Russia. Big energy and gas executives are intimidated by his new free energy, so they say they'll accuse Veidt of being a communist. He says that he found Alexander the Great's dream of global unification to be inspirational. Adrian thought that a way he could unite everyone is to give them free, clean energy. He claims that he has so much more money than them that he's untouchable and tell him to hit the road. They reconsider their threat and try to make peace, but right at that moment the elevator opens and a hitman pops out and tries to kill Ozymandias. He hits his secretary in the leg and the hand and shoots one of the execs in the head. His target knocks him down and asks who sent him, but it's too late. He takes his own life by swallowing a cyanide pill. Later that day, Silk Spectre and Night Owl talk about what happened in the last scene and they're worried about being next. Since John is gone and Laurie is horny, she stays with Dan for now. Finally, we see what Rorschach is up to. He reveals that he's been stalking the second Night Owl and speculates that Laurie is cheating on John. He does some digging on the hero killer and finds a matchbook from a local pub. He also learns that he worked for Pyramid Transnational. He remembers the logo from Moloch's house, so he pays a visit. While our titular character grills him on how he knew the man, he pulls his head back to get some answers and find a bullet where his frontal lobe should be. He finds a gun on the table and hears cops outside. He's been set up! He panics and tries to find a way out. A SWAT team makes their way up and try to break down the door. Right as it's about to hit the door, he opens it and the hammer goes to the floor. How do you even know when it was about to hit? He attacks the whole SWAT team with a spray can and match, then jumps out the window. When he lands, he's surrounded by cops. He puts up a good fight and they apprehend him and rip his face off. They expose his identity on the news and reveal that his name is Walter Kovacs. Hey, that's the guy with the sign following Danny and them, and at the funeral, and at the newsstand, and in the intro. The prison erupts with shouts and screams when he walks to his cell, because he's the reason that most of them were there in the first place. They get a psychiatrist to figure out what the hell is wrong with him. Ironically, he makes him do a Rorschach test. One of the images makes him think of catching his mom having SES with a customer. Another reminds him of when he beat up 2 kids when they dissed his mom. He criticized the psychiatrist for being a clout chaser, saying that the only reason he wanted to save him is because he's famous. Rorschach tells him about the time he got radicalized. A long time ago, he had a no-kill rule and believed in rehabilitation. The investigation of a kidnapped girl led him to a creepy house. He looks in the furnace and finds her underwear. Oh God. He finds her blood on the ground and notices the dog playing with her tibia. Jesus Christ. Guess I'll put her on the count too. The murderer comes back to the house and finds his front door kicked in. He walks around the house aiming down sights and gets hit with something. Rorschach threw his dead dog at him. What the hell? He handcuffs him to the furnace and tosses the girl's unmentionables at him. He confesses and says that he has to arrest him. Rorschach realizes that scumbags like him don't deserve to live in prison. He needs to die. He takes matters into his own hands and chops through his head. After hearing all that, the psychiatrist decides that he's beyond saving and gives up. Later at lunch, he gets harassed by a tall black man. He tries to stab him, but he gets a QTE right and ends up pouring scalding hot oil on his face. As he's being seized by the guards, he says one of the most iconic lines in cinema history.
I'm locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
While at Dan's place, Laurie looks through the owl cave and accidentally sets something on fire. They talk about why he became a hero, and she says that she would have loved her own cave. He lets her see through his eyes by letting her try on his goggles, showing that no matter how dark it got, he was always able to see clearly. She mentions that this is probably how John sees things, and he gets turned off and leaves. She catches up to him and clarifies that the doctor sees a lot, but he does not see her like Daniel does. And they get it on. Well, they try to, but the night owl can't get it up, so they just cuddle. Back in the vigilante's prison cell, one of the bad guys he put away, Big Figure, says that the guy he threw oil on is in the ICU, and if he dies, there'll be a riot. Later that night, Daniel stands naked in front of his costume and says that he's done being afraid. Laurie feels the same way, so they don their costumes once again and fly out in Archimedes, his owl wing. They hear on the police scanner that apparently every superhero has, there's a fire nearby, so they save the people inside and drop them off outside. Saving people really gets them in the mood, so they get it on right there in Archie. The guy in the ICU dies and there's a prison riot, like the man said. We see a bunch of people die here. Someone gets thrown off the second floor head first, another gets lit ablaze. At Rorschach's cell, Big Figure and his men threaten to insult him, but he remains calm. One of them reaches through the cell to try and get him, but he breaks his fingers and ties up his hands. The other one gets out a buzzsaw to cut through the bars, and since the big fella's in the way, he gets cut down too. At the same time, the power couple plots to break their friend out of prison. Big Figure's goons break into Rorschach's cell and tries to attack him, but he parries his attack and knocks him into the toilet. The water flows onto a frayed cord and he gets electrocuted to death. After seeing 2 of his men get no diff, the little person skedaddles. Rorschach's besties get into the prison and finds his victims. He goes into the psychiatric's office and get his costume back. The pair quell the prison break by calmly telling their inmates to go back to their cells. In the comics, this scene is like 2 panels, but since Zack Snyder loves violence, he extended it into this glorious fight scene. Rorschach sees Big Figure hide in the bathroom and he goes to follow him, but he's interrupted by Laurie and Dan. It's funny because the last time he saw her, she got mad when he called her by her hero name, but this time he called her Miss Jupiter. Call that character development. He goes into the bathroom and brutally murders Big Figure. FKA Walter commends the Night Owl for putting back on his costume and insults Silk Spectre for cheating on Dr. Manhattan.
Whore, you know what I'm saying? How you gonna go working, fella? How's God blessing you?
When they get back to Dryberg's place, they open the doors to see that Big Blue was waiting for them. He says that him and Laurie need to talk, so they go to Mars. Ironically, at the same time, the first Night Owl and Silk Spectre are talking on the phone when they get interrupted by a knock at the door. When he goes to check, he sees that it's Knot Top spinning back for their slain homies, even though they're targeting the wrong Night Owl. Although he does put up a good fight, they jump and kill him. Rorschach makes a quip about him and Laurie and he loses it, calling him a mentally ill leech. The masked man apologizes and calls Dan a good friend. Look at the gruesome twosome, back in action. They go to a bar and ask about the shady company and they find the man that hired the hitman against Oz. He said he got the order from Jenny Slater? Manhattan's old girl? As they leave, they see that the first Night Owl was killed. Daniel sees a Knot Top in the bar and beats on him crazy style in honor of his lost friend. This is for Gohan! Sounding ass. His friend has to stop him before he did any more damage. On Mars, Manhattan says that Laurie's gonna reveal that she cheated on him. He says he doesn't know yet, except he does. Yo, Dr. Manhattan really pisses me off. He sees time non-linearly, like how you can skip through this video and watch whatever parts you want. He does the same but with his life. He constantly flexes it too, like when he tells people what they're about to say, like part 2 Joseph. Instead of using that information to his benefit, he just lets it happen, and he only does something if he knows he's gonna do it. I assume he doesn't make use of his abilities because he just simply doesn't care. Ever since he put himself back as Dr. Manhattan, he's been slowly detaching away from humanity. It's even written on his forehead, for fuck's sake. His dialogue in the scene irks me a lot.
The most powerful thing in the universe, still just a puppet.
We're all puppets, Laurie. I'm just a puppet who can see the strings.
Nigh omnipotent, by the way. Not only is he apathetic, he also lacks imagination. If I was him, I'd hit comedian with Pearson Blood, hit Reagan with Soul Punisher, hit Gorbachev with Zoltrak, hit Netanyahu with Special Beam Cannon. Anyways, she apologizes for smashing the Night Owl, and he reacts to that info with shock. He says he only cared about humanity because of her, and now that she's betrayed him, he has no reason to save it. Like, he complains that Laurie was his link to Earth and that she should have done better, but he does like nothing to keep her. He barely gives a fuck. Nigga, you are God. Why does she have to carry your relationship? Time runs out and the United States gets ready to bomb Russia. For some reason, the dynamic duo are suspicious of Ozymandias, so they break into his office and hack his computer. He has a bunch of folders there, like files on Dr. Manhattan and boys. I knew it! Daniel clicks on the ominous looking triangle icon and they find out that he's the one behind Pyramid Transnational. Over on his Antarctic base, Karnak, they finished a project that him and the doctor have been working on. Since he's using that for something nefarious, he killed all the scientists, so there's no proof of it. Throughout the whole movie, Rorschach's been keeping a journal of all of his thoughts and things that happened in his investigation. Before him and the Night Owl go to Karnak to confront Adrian, he writes his final entry and mails it off to a journalist. Back on Mars, Laurie tries to convince John that all life is worth saving, but he won't budge. After he spits some edgelord BS about life being overrated, she has to go home. Earlier, he said she'll leave crying, but since her eyes are dry and he's wrong, then maybe he's wrong about everything else. He says that she gets mad at him for not seeing things her way, so he shows her how he sees things. Through a series of flashbacks, it was revealed that her real father was the comedian Edward Blake. It seems impossible that a woman would still love a man who would do that to her. That impossibility makes Dr. Manhattan believe in humanity again. The crime busters crash land right outside the Antarctic base. Oh shit, look at Danny's little Arctic suit. They bust in and try to catch the world's smartest man off guard, but he anticipated the attack and dodged. They end up getting low-diffed by Ozymandias and he explains his master plan. The comedian found out what he was doing, so he killed him himself. He made the tachyon bomb so Dr. Manhattan couldn't see what he was doing, just like Rorschach said. He confesses to giving all those people cancer and blaming it on John. He was the one that killed Roy Chess with the cyanide pill, and the one that framed Rorschach. He said he's planning on using Dr. Manhattan's power to destroy major cities so humanity stops fighting with each other and teams up against him. They threatened to stop him, but...
Do that, Rorschach? I'm not a comic book villain. Do you seriously think I'd explain my masterstroke to you if there were even the slightest possibility you could affect the outcome? I triggered it 35 minutes ago.
And the bombs go off, killing 15 million people. Jesus Christ. John and his ex show up to Earth and see a bunch of rubble. He says that it looks like he did it. He instantly recognizes that it's Ozzy and teleports to him. He chases him into another room and falls into his trap. Adrian uses the machine that first ripped him apart to do it again one last time. He got his weird cap thing in there too, damn. When he leaves, he gets shot in the chest by Laurie. Wow, the King of Kings, slain by never mind. He gets up and kicks the hell out of her. Out of nowhere, we hear a familiar voice. John makes his grand re-entrance by punching through the glass ceiling. He goes back to normal and little bros the fuck out of Ozzy.
The world's smartest man poses no more threat to me than does its smartest termite.
Where was this Dr. Manhattan throughout the movie? He turns on the TV and they see that everyone made peace just like he predicted. Wouldn't everybody just get mad at the US because that's their weapon? You all see that Adrian did save the world today and agree to keep quiet about it. Rorschach says it's not right and vows to tell the world. John doesn't want to let that happen. Rorschach said that he'd rather die than stay silent, so he tells John to just kill him. He begs him and he complies and blows him up. Ironically, the patch of blood makes a pretty butterfly. Daniel witnessed the whole thing and falls to his knee. Dr. Manhattan says that he's leaving the universe now and dips. The Night Owl tackles and beats the shit out of Ozymandias, but he doesn't fight back. Him and his girl leave disappointed. A while later, she tells her mom that she knows that Eddie was her dad, and we get a sweet interaction between them.
You asked me why I wasn't mad at him. Because he gave me you.
Her and Daniel are happily dating, and they say that as long as people think John is watching, they'll be alright. A journalist complains about the world peace and says there's nothing to write about. The movie ends suggesting that even in his death, Rorschach refused to compromise and exposed Ozymandias.
15,873,053 people die over the course of the film. With a runtime of 215 minutes, that leaves us with a kill on average every 100,000 people every 1 minute and 21 seconds.
The award for the coolest kill goes to Rorschach. When I first watched the movie, I didn't expect him to die in the end like that. It's made more impactful by the fact that in the movie, Daniel watches it happen. The award for lamest kill goes to the guy who got oil poured on him. I don't like how he died later like that. That was pretty lame.
I'm Big Large, and this has been The Kill Count. Au revoir.